back around and left to right. Each rider will have 30 seconds in case someone's taking too long. We'll hold them to that. Each rider gets one.
Electrical shocks when someone takes too long.
We have to do 1 sentence, right?
One sentence. You said yes.
Will the audience also be
At some.
Yes.
some point?
At some point.
To start thinking.
If you feel
Keep track. Don't start off.
okay, so we'll start with Julia. We'll go left to right. Each rider gets 30 seconds. Keep going until we have the full story. And can interject at any time.
I'm the editor.
She's the editor.
She can slam the brakes on this monster and redirect, edit, ask for more tasks.
Since I got to go first, I got to cheat. I was given permission to write it out ahead of time. But I don't get to do that at any other time. Alligators, they say, creep right through her living room, and possums suckle litters on her velvet couch. Birds nest in her moss-festooned chandeliers, open any closet, and moths spew out.
And yet, she was still having trouble getting a jar of peanut butter open.
So when I visited her for the 6th time in a row, I was like, where do you hide the coffee in a place like this?
She said, the coffee is not the issue, it is only the peanut butter that I am preoccupied with. Why do you always... that doesn't make sense.
But that was the problem with visiting Aunt Francine.
Pass.
How many passes do you get?
One.
One. Okay.
And remember, this is 30-second time limit, so don't be ready.
What Noah knew was that the coffee was hidden in the attic with the vulture.
And Aunt Francine, before going upstairs to feed the vulture, had this annoying habit of peeling off her liver-colored pantyhose and piling them into a damp pile on the floor.
More cats.
So since the vulture feeding always made my skin crawl, I made myself useful and headed for the peanut butter in the kitchen.
Don't worry too much about Aunt Francine's antics. My mom had told me before I visited her.
You know she hasn't been the same ever since the cockroaches crawled into her ears.
And don't worry, it was only 3 missing husbands.
But the real problem was in the basement, not the attic.
All right, Nathan, before you go, can I call on someone from the audience? Trina?
Oh, good. No.
Volunteer? No. No? All right.
I should have known better than to ignore the alligators.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The alligator king was stirring from his slumber in the basement.
And hordes of kittens worshiped the alligator king. Adorable kittens.
I heard his slippery step upon the stair and turned as the door opened, aware all I had in my hand was that godforsaken jar of peanut butter.
And as I smell its stinky breath, I thought, darn, I miss Smucky. Smucky.
If only Smokey were here, and if only Francine had not removed her pantyhose because everyone knows what draws the gator from her basement.
Smucky was always the faster thinker of us.
Smucky would have known exactly how to get that alligator king back in the basement, but I had no such luck.
And then the door creaked open, and the alligator king walked into the living room. Mount Francine looked around and smiled.
Then she reached for a hidden jar of peanut butter. She opened it, pulled out a rotten wooden spoon, danced in the swamp, and dipped it into the peanut butter and held it out. And the alligator king licked dollops of peanut butter from the dissolving wooden spoon.
A very long sentence.
The kittens, upon seeing their king feasting happily, broke into song. Broke into song.
I'll pass on that.
Oh, great alligator king, denizen of the basement, bringer of all things good to adorable kittens, we salute you.
Look, the alligator king said, I'm really sick of getting this kind of reception when I just come up for some stinking peanut butter.
Smucky.
You know, Bill Smucky.
Yeah. Take a deep breath.
Yeah, sorry. Which was when I felt the old affection Smucky always had for me, covering me like a warm blanket and giving me the knowledge of exactly how to most beautifully wrap up this 6th visit with my Aunt Francine and her singing kittens.
I also remember the thing my mama said, because she knew exactly what to do in a situation like this. This was it.
Could it be that Smucky and the alligator king were one and the same?
Ooh, nice twist.
Everyone loves a terrible twist.
Because
Near the end of a story.
the alligator had always, because the elevator. This is like real life writing. Delete, delete, delete.
Yeah.
Because it was only after Smucky had disappeared that the alligator showed up.
For sake, the alligator king said, I'm standing right here while you're just standing right there looking at me.
Do you have any?
Anyone in the audience?
Want to join?
Anyone?
They're like, you dug your hole.
Sorry, I said. This is only my 3rd time visiting my Aunt Francine, and I've never met you before. Like, I would be interested.
So I moved to give him the jar of peanut butter, but I actually gave him the coffee instead.
Oh, so you needed that because it was a button.
So the alligator upended the coffee can and gobbled up every last. Very assertive energy.
Immediately upon licking the last coffee ground from his mouth, however, a hideous hissing, crackling sound began to emerge from his stomach.
So I turned to Aunt Francine and I said, can we now play Monopoly?
All right, Leah, no pressure, but this is it. This is the final sentence.
That was,
You think we should go on?
yeah.
All right, I think Jeff. Okay, I'm just gonna wrap it up. All right, I was pretty certain that Jeff just mouthed to me ended, so that's why I was.
I didn't say anything. I was talking about you
That was
personally.
more of an existential.
We communicate so well.
Okay, now I've lost the breath, so.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, in this game of life, we only play trouble. There's a lot of bad times.
Oh, that's terrible. Too many times.
Oh, she's.
Pass.
Right, Jeff.
And then, Bleepity Bleep, Francine said, I've actually brought you here for another purpose entirely, and I'm just glad that you came over and that the Alligator King came up from the basement, because there's something I have to tell you.
And then she pulled off her mask.
There was another mask, and then she said, it's time for me to molt, and I need for you to help me go get a jar of Vaseline.
The Alligator King made a second sound of hissing in disgust and headed back down the basement. I would never know for sure if he had really been spunky or not.
So I crossed the street to the drugstore and asked for a bottle of Vaseline, and the lady behind the counter said, "Not again."
Pass.
Well, I stared right back at her and said, "What's an acceptable substitute?"
And she said, peanut butter. Recording that, 'cause that was brilliant.
That was, and thank you to our audience members for your participation. Thank you all for